most of you know me. I'm Cory. I'm here with two of my friends. Let's start with Hannah. Would you introduce yourself and what we're doing today?
Sure, absolutely. I'm Hannah Miller. I'm the host of The Hannah Miller Show and kind of, convinced you guys to come on and do the year in review with me. Yes. And so I do a weekly podcast, and it's the Hannah Miller Show, like I said, and we do what happened this week. And what happened this week is the year in review. And so I convinced you guys to come on, and we're just going to go through, I think there's 36 different categories. Yep. And we're just going to hammer. It is thorough. And we're just going to hit what we can.
It was a Hannah-generated list. Cody Fields, what are you doing here?
Yes, so I am Cody Fields, as you said. I am the only person at this table and in this recording who has not named my podcast after my own name.
I know.
So I own a little guitar effects pedal brand called Westminster Effects, and with it, I am also the only guitar gear builder in the world with a theology podcast called the Westminster Effects Doxology Podcast, for those of you who aren't familiar with me. And I'm also a deacon here at Resurrection Church, where we're recording.
Yes,
so.
and much appreciation to you for
absolutely.
allowing us to come in and do this.
Yeah, Cody did all the hard work. And if anyone wants to hang out with other Westminster-type people, where could they do that?
They can do that on Facebook in the Westminster Effects Green Room, as we've newly renamed it because the old name had too many syllables.
It was long.
You don't have to be a guitar gear dork because we talk about literally everything else in there too.
Great.
This was Hannah's idea, and you have 36 let's call it categories of ways to look back on the year.
Yeah, kind of like the superlatives that we used to do
in
the yearbook. Yeah, so that's what we're going to do here, and we're just going to kind of hammer through from all different categories, a wide variety. And for my listeners, you might be like, well, wait a minute, how does Hannah know Cory and Cody? Well, the reality is Cory and I used to do the radio together back in radio days.
WHRT.
Yes, and we would host together some. Cody and I have kind of floated in, we've just known people who know each other for a long time. And then earlier this summer, and I was going to tell you guys this earlier, you guys did a podcast together talking about the Southern Baptist Convention, and I just so appreciated y'all's conversation about it and being millennials who aren't just set to just burn down all the institutions.
Yeah.
And so it was
That's kind of our thing these days.
It is. We're trying to build something.
Yes, that's right.
No, we shouldn't leave out. We're all Crusader Blazers.
Yes.
Trail Cruise. I don't know. We're Crusader Trailblazers as well. All North
Class
Rainbow
of 09 Crusaders.
Yes.
Your class of
12.
And I'm 08. Yeah, the old guy of the group.
You're okay. I didn't know you graduated before he did.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just
all right.
a smidge.
All right. Well, so let's get right to it. So the biggest winner of the year. Who would you guys say is the biggest winner of the year? I'll go first since I did. I'll just go ahead and say I think the biggest winner of the year this year is small business owners. As a small business owner, I think that moving forward, and this is really after the November election, the things that we were able to really thrive under Donald Trump before, and I think all of the things that he's pitched, which I don't really have a reason to doubt he's going to do, is going to really allow us to thrive again. You're
a small business owner. You feel have a positive outlook?
This year has been tough for being what amounts to a luxury brand, right?
Yeah.
People don't need my stuff to survive by any stretch of the imagination. One of the interesting things is in the guitar world, when there are economic downturns, stuff like electric guitars, pedals, and amps decrease in sales and acoustic guitar sales go up.
Right.
So you don't have to have all of the goodies with an acoustic. So it's been a little tougher this year, but I take your point going forward. Because hopefully we don't have to worry about inflation quite as much. We'll see what this continuing resolution happens. Obviously.
Yeah, that's gonna affect
because your husband owns a business.
Yes, he does epoxy coatings.
I know I can't be entrepreneurial. Like I have to be a part of someone else's institution and just be a really good cog in their wheel. That's just how I'm wired.
Yep.
But you in that entrepreneurial world, you feel confident. You feel
we're feeling pretty
into the new world.
Forward.
For me, my big winner is in direct distinction to my biggest loser. So let me launch into the next one.
Okay, all right, go to the next category.
Because I think the biggest loser of the year generally was wokeness as a philosophy, as it received.
Agree.
Oh man, are we all going to have the same one?
And now, just to itemize it, in business, DEI departments coming down, Disney pulling back on some storylines. Of course, election results, but in educational institutions, we see it now. Several big state colleges having some new rules. So as wokeness recedes, a fog is breaking over my biggest winner of the year. which is just Western citizens. If you live in England or France or Germany or the United States and Canada the last, I'll call it about 15 years, there's been a foggy thing called wokeness that's made everything weird. It's receding, so Western citizens are the winner.
I'm actually going to go with you there. I think the biggest loser this year is the progressive agenda. For the first time since 1980, every state in a presidential election went further right than it had been previously, and their agenda outspent Trump's 4-1, and it lost resoundingly.
So my biggest winner of the year, it's a derivative of the two of those, and I would say Christendom at large, because the next 4 years are going to be somewhat of a reprieve, and hopefully, honestly, like the next 8-12 years, right? We get some kind of reprieve so we can go about our business and do the thing. My biggest loser is really just narrowing what the two of you said, and it would be Kamala Harris. And that will be followed by a...
I'm not gonna miss that.
No, not at all. So best politician. Who would you say is the best? Cory, you go.
I'll go with president or prime minister. I don't know what they call him down in Argentina, but Prime Minister Mutton Chops.
Oh yeah, Javier.
He is compelling. He's interesting. I mean, he's been effective.
Incredibly so.
I would say Javier Milei.
I'm gonna say good old Glitch McConnell. Who, on his way out the door, got John Thune in and put as many roadblocks as possible in the way of Trump MAGA mandate.
He's one of the most effective politicians.
He was incredibly effective.
He really catches so much crap that he doesn't deserve. Like the Supreme Court is conservative because of Mitch McConnell.
That's right.
Being a roadblock during the last days of the Obama administration.
He's Machiavellian and wins a lot. I understand.
Yeah. Hate the game, not the player. Like, that's kind of my philosophy when it comes to Mitch.
He is super skilled as a politician.
Yes.
Whether you like his agenda or not.
Yes,
sure.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, I don't like what he did, but you gotta give the applause where it's due. Like,
Before we do most defining political moment, did you have a different politician? The Javier Milei or Mitch McConnell?
The first one that comes to mind for me is J.D. Vance. Because he went from, it's such an interesting story. Before the week before the election, I crammed his book.
Hillbilly
Elegy. Fascinating book and horrifying.
Yes.
So to come from that and then to be basically a never-Trumper just a few years ago to now he's vice president-elect for President-elect Donald J. Trump. That's an impressive move.
I waffled with him. I put him somewhere else. Like, he's down in my list. He's somewhere else.
Yeah.
So most defining political moment then. Cody, you go.
Well, you go? I just saw yours and I completely agree.
Yes.
So go ahead.
You cheating off my paper. What kind of class is this? No.
Actually, I didn't go with that in part because I knew the assassination.
I know. It was going to be the one.
Assassination attempt. I actually think defining political moment. I might even put that Trump almost getting killed in a different category was the debate that followed, and then I guess that was a press conference a couple days later where Biden had such a bad debate that it literally changed the world. It changed the course of everything. And then he came out for a press conference a couple days later to try to calm everything down, and he was so bad in that press conference.
As you are
define the world,
as you're fond of saying, Cory, the world is typically Tuesdays. Right? Life is typically full of Tuesdays, and 2024 was not full of regular Tuesdays.
A lot of defining moments.
No, there was a lot of defining moments. I did go ahead and say that moment of Donald Trump standing up with raising his fist in the air and blood running down his face, and he's just rallying his people with the words "fight, fight, fight." Look, that event changed, in my opinion, the political momentum. And it changed Donald Trump because people who considered themselves emotionally neutral towards this, who just were like, you know what, I don't like her, obviously, but he's just like not a big fan either. People who consider themselves emotionally neutral found themselves driving across town on a Saturday night to get a Donald Trump sign to stamp down in their yard because they were so moved by what happened.
It was one of those moments, and there aren't many of those in life where you remember exactly where you were, what you were doing. So things like 9/11, not to put it on the same level, but when Hunter Renfrow caught that game-winning touchdown in the national championship for Clemson, when the Braves won their most recent World Series, I jumped around the living room with my wife like an idiot. And this thing.
Yes.
Like I remember and I will always remember that, as well as that debate. the debate to end all.
We finally
presidential
killed Medicare.
Right.
Something's going on. Yeah. It's not right here.
Yeah. And so when you get two of those moments politically in 1 year, what kind of story are we in right now?
Yeah. It was season 2024. The writers went crazy on America. Whoever was writing our script.
Yeah.
These next two I left blank, but you have the biggest traitor. Who do you have as the biggest traitor?
So I'm actually I'm going to come from the outside on this one, and I'm going to say RFK and Tulsi Gabbard.
Interesting.
I went from the other direction because RFK gave up literally his political birthright. And Tulsi Gabbard, who stood up on the debate stage in 2020, running for the Democratic presidential nomination, and then came over to the MAGA side, and effectively brought with them their coalition and allowed the MAGA side to be brought into the extent that Donald Trump won, not just the Electoral College, but the popular vote.
That's a really interesting thing.
Would you? I hadn't thought of that. That's interesting. Would you call what Juan Soto did treacherous?
No, he did what was best for his wallet and for his 401k.
He left the New York Yankees, went to the New York Mets.
Okay,
and I thought that would be a very treacherous move.
15 years, $765 million, if I recall correctly, plus other things.
That's almost as much as the podcast.
Yeah,
makes.
or you could say Shohei Ohtani's interpreter, which that was so long ago now.
Yeah, I forgot that.
Yeah, so.
Well, I know, like this year's been so full of moments that it's just like and there's recency bias, and you're like, I'm trying to get past the recency bias, but
It's
what all has happened this year?
The entire year has been an internet years. It feels like.
Yes.
So many things have happened.
That's the nature of election years. I saw a stat that more humans on Earth voted in elections this year than in any other year in human history. It was that big of a worldwide event.
Yeah.
And so elections drive news cycles, and they make our years feel shorter, or feel like you're having multiple years in the same year.
Yeah, just a lot of activity.
I don't have anything either for the most boring. I love boring things. It feels pejorative. Who do you have as the most boring, Hannah Miller?
Legacy media, who for the life of them can't come up with new lies and just keep trying to sell Russian collusion, and Trump is literally Hitler. Yeah, I'm so tired of hearing about this.
It's tedious.
And I'm just like, come on, guys, like come up with something new.
And I would agree with that and narrow it down to also ESPN. Because I'm just over. Like I haven't actually watched ESPN other than game specific coverage in years. And I just do not care about what stupid things Stephen A. Smith has to say.
Brother, I was doing some cleaning today. My earbuds went dead and I had to charge them. So I was like, I'll turn on ESPN. What's going on there? It's just randos yelling at each other about sports, and it's not insightful or interesting. You have a friend who does a baseball podcast. It's shorter.
Mark Dewey.
That guy. Yep. That's good broadcasting for sports.
Excellent.
Whatever ESPN is doing is not.
Because Cory, you're a football guy, right? And you're a baseball guy?
Big sports guy.
You're just all
Specifically, baseball is my favorite sport, but I also very much enjoy football and really anything athletic.
So. Yeah, we will follow curling when the Winter Olympics come around.
You just have it going.
Did you see that guy's sweeping technique?
Speaking of charismatic things like curling, yes, your next one, the most charismatic. I'll go first.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't know how it's all going to shake out for this guy, but the most interesting person, the most charismatic person, I feel so magnetized and I want to hear him, is Russell Brand.
Yes.
Every time he puts out a new video, I go, click, guess what you got for me, Russell?
Yeah.
He's so compelling to me.
I like that you went outside the world of politics, but sort of. Russell Brand is a little involved, but this is where I put J.D. Vance. Because who could have used his upbringing to say, woe is me, could have been in jail, lots of things. But instead, he overcame it to become inarguably one of the most powerful men in the world. Yeah. The J.D. Vance headcock meme was the meme of the year. He dominated every TV appearance that he had. He's an excellent communicator. Going into the VP debate, Kamala Harris led at 54%, but by the end of the week, she was behind and never took the lead again.
That's interesting. Yeah,
I mean, he was a huge.
I agree with both of those, right? Particularly Russell Brand. Like he's gone from the goofiness and depravity that he was indulging in just a few years ago to reading The Mission of God by Joe Boot.
It's incredible.
Sign me up.
The Russell Brand trajectory. We'll go with a different celebrity of the last few years. It's so different than the Kanye West trajectory. Yeah, that it's so encouraging. I don't need celebrities to be Christians, but his platform is so big, it can be influential.
Right.
And so, he was mine.
And he's already got better theology than most Christian bands, musicians, churches.
So is he still on a good trajectory? Because I have not followed him recently,
Excellent.
and I always like stay really far away when these things start happening because I'm like, because yay or whatever. What does Kanye call himself now? I don't know.
My understanding, I have it on good authority that he has met with very solid people. I don't want to put it over the air who I've heard because I don't think it's my place, but I have it on good authority that he's meeting with solid people.
Praise the Lord. Yeah, that's great. Bummus Rap.
I gave Bummus Rap and Ferris Rap to the same person.
Okay, all right. I see what you're doing here.
Joe Biden?
I was going to say, Kamala Harris was handed the worst hand.
Yeah.
But she deserved it.
Yeah.
So it was both the worst, Bummus Rap and Ferris Rap was Kamala Harris.
Oh, Kamala Harris. I had a little bit of a hard time with this one. I'm actually going to go with Daniel Penny. Who was the guy?
The Marine in New York.
Yeah, the Marine in New York. Who, yes, he's been kind of vindicated. I was so proud of him for sticking it to the man and showing up at the Army-Navy game and standing in that booth with Vance and Donald Trump. He could have just kind of slunk off to lick his wounds, but he decided, nope, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to stick it to him and not be afraid. But my word. What are we doing as a country? Yeah, that was tragic what happened to him, and it's going to affect him for the rest of his life.
Yeah,
so.
I think my bummest rap is probably, I don't recall his name, but the United Healthcare CEO.
Yeah.
Literally just gets offed in the street.
6:45 in the morning.
Going to a meeting. Yeah.
And all these people defending. I'm like, guys, this is murder. Like, I don't care who it is.
Though, in fairness,
it's murder.
I think I saw it's like 17% approve of what he did. So it's a tiny minority.
They just have a loud
who are
voice.
really, really loud. I've seen them on, being in the music scene. Like,
I can't.
My friends list tends a little more liberal in that area. So I've seen a disproportionate amount of them. However, most people are just regular old horrified like they should be.
I can't emphasize enough to people, the internet is not real life.
Yes.
No, you're right. Twitter is not real life, or X. What do we call it now?
I was just listening to the Stories Are Soul Food podcast, and Nate Wilson said, you have to remember that whatever you see on Twitter is the equivalent to reading whatever's written on Sharpie in a gas station restroom stall.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
So don't be too offended by the Sharpie on the stall.
Yeah, I said that my Ferris rap was Ray Gun. Y'all remember Ray Gun, the Australian breakdancer who deserved every bit of rancor that she received? Yeah, that was awful. And she
that was really bad.
She was terrible.
Anything different for you on Ferris Rap before we do comeback?
No.
Yeah.
So here's my best comeback. Movies. Like there were people actually showing up to go see Twisters, and it was great.
It
was
phenomenal.
great. Gladiator was great. Inside Out 2 back in February was great. There's not been a big movie year since COVID.
Yeah.
And this actually had a pretty big box office year. Going to the movies is back.
So I said that the best comeback this year was being right wing because being cool is or being conservatives is cool again.
Contrarian now.
Yeah.
I don't like that per se because I think it should be a matter of conviction, not coolness factor. But but you have to just call a spade a spade. It's cool to be conservative.
Yeah.
So.
I'll be spicy since we've been engaged in this on X. The biggest comebacks. Or not best comeback, I'll say biggest comeback.
Oh, yeah.
Is Nazis.
I know. They have
Literal
reemerged.
Nazis. What are we doing, guys?
I mean, you start seeing memes like maybe they were the last ones to fight the evil Jewish demonic cabal. I'm gonna pick a different website for a minute.
Oh man,
I've been involved in some stupid controversies, some of my own making.
Sure, we all have.
This is the dumbest one I have ever seen.
Yeah,
we're
it'll
trying
fade.
to make Hitler a good guy. What are we doing?
Yeah,
what
the Lord
tragedy.
will have that fade. I pray.
That's not original thinking, but that's our next category. So
Good segue. That's professional.
This is what we used to do. Segues.
yeah, segues.
Almost competing with one another for best segue. I have Jonathan Haidt. I think he's got the most important non-Christian book of the year, The Anxious Generation, and his work on getting smartphones out of our kids' hands. Getting smartphones out of our...
As a parent, I applaud.
Out of our schools. He's actually been very successful. I mean, he's out there taking pictures with governors of both parties, going to bill signings, getting the phones out of the schools. I'm a Jonathan Haidt guy.
Isn't that supposed to happen here in Spartanburg or Greenwood,
Yes.
South Carolina?
If you're going to stay getting money from the state, the local districts have to start implementing a phoneless policy starting in January.
Wow. Okay. Well, I said my most original thinker is Barron Trump, who has been credited with getting Donald Trump to go on the various podcasts that I personally believe drastically changed presidential campaigns from here on out, and also put the final nail in the coffin of legacy media. So it could be Susie Wiles or Stephen Chung, his communications director, and his now chief of staff. So, but I've heard that Barron Trump was the one that was responsible for that. So
I think I'm gonna go back to Russell Brand.
Yeah.
For the reasoning being, he didn't delve immediately, as far as I'm aware, into any kind of like Roman Catholicism. He didn't delve into Eastern Orthodoxy. He delved into Reformed postmillennialism, which is so niche.
Yeah.
He didn't delve into dispensationalism. Yeah. That would be really easy to do. And instead he went into like a very narrow path. Yeah. And I'm on board with that.
Yeah. I say, so most stagnant thinker is our next category. I'll just go first. Anyone, I forgot this one might be my controversial one. Anyone who says murder is a crime unless the victim is a baby.
Yeah, that's whole thing. I wrote nothing down for this one. I couldn't think of any particularly stagnant thinking, but that's one that you could do every year.
That's a big controversy, especially right now, criminalizing abortion and all that, and seeing it as a crime at least.
David French.
No.
Yeah. Do I need to say anything else?
I applaud that.
Won't be flexible.
Yeah.
Best photo op of 2024. I mean, I don't know how anyone is going to say anything other, but what happened in Pennsylvania? I mean,
I'm gonna go different.
Really?
I think that one, just to offer a different one. And I think that's a garbage truck man. I think the moment, supporters of Donald Trump are called garbage, and within 24 hours, he rolls up to a rally with his name on the side of it right before the election.
I'm not convinced that Trump is actually a boomer at this point. I'm pretty sure he's a millennial.
Yeah. Because his meme game?
Yeah, his meme game is way too strong to be a boomer.
Yeah, so what are you sick of? What are you most sick of?
You haven't gone first yet. Do you want to go first on what are you most sick of in 2024?
Specifically in 2024, I'm sick of government regulations across the globe.
Yeah.
I just had to start implementing. So I have a distributor in Germany that distributes to Central and Eastern Europe. And I now have to make sure that every pedal I send, and I'm working on an order of 60 pedals for them right now. So every single pedal has to have a label on it with the importer's address and information and my address and information. And if I don't, it's something like €150 fine for the first one, escalating on and on. It's similar to California's Prop 65 stuff. Yeah. And so
red tape and all that.
Yeah. And so like I go to Anaheim every year for the NAMM show, and the regulations in California are so hilarious that Walmart itself has a Prop 65. This might give you cancer warning, which I'm on board with. Walmart will give you cancer, but just government regulations as a whole, I'm tired of it.
I'm most sick of is social media. I'm spending less and less time on it. And I know for what people that want platforms are supposed to be on it more. I'm just going to not have a platform. It's so it's just so obnoxious. Especially, honestly, I know X is now everyone's big favorite. It's becoming my least favorite because it's picked up all the people I don't want to hear from and just constantly shows me them. I'm annoyed. I find myself just annoyed all the time. And so I'm going to keep playing my crossword puzzles on my phone.
Wordle.
I'm going to Wordle. I'm going to play the connections on my New York Times app.
Connections.
That's awesome.
Also, there's a new, I can't remember what it's called, but the New York Times app for games is endless. I'm just going to keep doing that and do social media less.
So I am most sick of emasculation of men in pop culture and over-emasculation of women.
I like it.
I am so over that. I can't stand the movies. Like if as soon as they have a movie or a show and it's got some powerhouse woman, and I'm just like, nah,
the girl boss.
The girl boss, some, what is it, Superwoman or just like whatever. And I'm just like, look, I get it. Like I love a good woman lead, but like, no.
Andrew, go ahead.
If I could piggyback on that, that is also infecting video games. I'm not a diehard gamer or anything, but I personally often would prefer to play a story-driven game than to watch TV.
Okay, sure.
So I've been playing the new Indiana Jones game, which is a lot of fun. But so the setup is basically this really, really giant dude steals a thing from Indiana Jones's museum. And it's in the 1930s. So one of the guys is referring to this unknown man as they.
Oh, gosh.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
So what are we doing, guys? And so it's you have that as bad as it's been in movies and TV, it actually has been worse in video games, believe it or not.
Man.
What's your worst lie of the year?
Yeah, worst lie of the year. So I'm going to say on June 25th, CNN ran a headline.
This is very specific.
Yes, saying it's a right-wing conspiracy theory that Joe Biden is in cognitive decline. Okay? 2 days later, June 27th, Biden confirmed his increasing senility in front of 60 million Americans during the presidential debate with Donald Trump.
We finally killed Medicare line.
It was right there in front for everybody to see, and that headline is still out there.
I didn't write one down. Endorsed.
That's the worst one. Approval.
That's
okay,
fine.
Ditto.
I'll tweak that. Well, I don't disagree with that, but that the transfer portal is good for college sports.
Yes, brother. Thank you. I thought this was going to make it a little more fun. I was wrong. I was wrong about the transfer portal in college sports.
I have room in my thinking for allowing some amount of transfers. You know, it's all about the money now. Yeah. It's just ridiculous. So. Proceed.
Destined for stardom. Because I left some blank, I'm going to do 2.
All right, sure, go ahead.
Okay, 1. Wait, this one's destined for oblivion. All right, so my destined for stardom is Pierre Poilievre. He's going to be the next prime minister of Canada.
It's easy for you to say.
I know.
Did you get that?
Poilievre. I think it's Poilievre. Pierre Poilievre. If you haven't seen him yet, he's funny. And you don't have a lot of politicians they're just kind of funny and they're relatable. Yeah. He's youngish, I think he's like 44, and he's going to be the new prime minister. He will be a political star. That's my destined for stardom.
What about you?
Mine is the band Convictions, Christian metal band. Excellent riffs, excellent breakdowns.
Name again?
And
what are they called?
Convictions.
Okay.
They are way heavier than your taste, but check them out.
All right.
Yeah.
And you immediately put the phone back. I love it.
Well, you do know my taste.
Yes.
I'm a Reliant K guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was really torn on this one. I'm not a sports person. I am. I just kind of float. Particularly, I can't say I'm not a sports person, but baseball's not really been my thing.
Okay.
So what in the world is Savannah Bananas? And I know. I was like, I'm gonna make.
They're so fun.
And I'm like, there are probably a lot of like hardcore baseball folks out there who are like, what are they doing? But I think they're destined for stardom because they brought in people who have never watched baseball. They're interested in baseball.
They are the Caitlin Clark of minor league baseball. Caitlin Clark made people watch women's basketball this year.
Yeah, that's true.
And
that's
Savannah Bananas makes me want to go to all their games. They're fun.
The other one I'll say
you're a baseball purist, I think, and don't like them.
I was gonna say I'm probably gonna make Cody mad.
I want to eliminate the designated hitter, like all that stuff. So yes, I agree. They have exploded, obviously, and I remember when they first started.
I looked at tickets to like go with my kids. You can't get them. 2 years out.
Yeah.
2 years out, you cannot get tickets.
And they started in the old Savannah Sand Gnats minor league stadium, right? And now they're selling out. Like, aren't they playing at Death Valley in Clemson?
I've heard that.
Yeah.
So yeah, they have popped, but I'm grumpy about it.
I'll throw another one out there because we have time. The other one that I think is destined for stardom is 20 Schemes. So 20 Schemes is out of Ireland. They're a Christian band. They do like hymns, theology. It's super solid, and they've only got a few things out right now. But we hit on them on a Sunday morning driving to church, and oh man, so good. And I'm speaking this over them as well. I want them to be successful because their music and their content is just so on point.
Destined for oblivion, I generally say, that's the opposite, not destined for stardom, but destined for oblivion, is stardom itself. We're so bifurcated media-wise. Hollywood can tell me we're all supposed to care about whatever that little blonde girl's name is that was on SNL that one time. And she's in a bunch of movies at the same time, and I don't even know her name right now. And I'm told the biggest movie star is the guy from Gladiator right now. And we're going to put him in Venom, and we're going to put him in a lot of stuff. And you have to know who he is. And I don't care. None of us care. And also all the little TikToker little musicians. They all sell out venues of 400 people, and none of us know their names. There's just no such thing as a star anymore.
There's just so many.
There's just too many. And so stardom, true celebrity, ended, I think, with Taylor Swift.
There's an interesting...
last one.
Rick Beato. He's a Nashville session guitarist, has a pretty big YouTube channel, and he did a really interesting case study in the death of the band as a musical entity, and he went through the top 40 charts, and all right, here's the first 5 years of the 80s, something like that, and then out of those 5 years, it was like half of those number one weeks were filled by bands. A little bit less in the 90s, a little bit less in the 2000s, and then the first 5 years of this decade, zero.
There's no bands.
There are no bands that have been formed in the last 5 years that have a number one. So I think you have a good point there.
Wow.
That world is done.
So I said my destined for oblivion is illegal aliens. I think what we've got going on.
Sheesh. Yeah.
I mean, harsh, but I think true.
Yeah, someone chose violence today.
Yeah, it was
Illegal immigration generally.
Yeah,
even if not immigrants.
Yes.
It's going to be harder and harder to get here.
Yes, I think so, and I think that all the ones that are here now. I mean, I think we're going to start seeing mass deportations after January.
Maybe this is wishful thinking, but Matt Gaetz.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, he's going to get a podcast or a TV show somewhere.
Right.
But again, there's no such thing as stardom.
Right.
So he's going to make a few bucks.
Right. And I genuinely hope his political career is over.
Amen.
And that his tribe decreases.
Yeah. Can I toss out super hard take here? Men in their late 30s should not pursue sexual relationships with men in their late teens.
Huh.
I know.
That's a novel concept.
It's crazy.
I think you were about to say something about Andrew Tate earlier. Looking at you, Andrew.
Same thing. I was saying earlier, he tweeted something like, there's nothing gayer than obsessing over a woman's beauty. It's like, I don't think you understand.
Marriage.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing gayer than marriage. So it's like, what are you on, my guy?
I don't think you understand masculinity at all. The next two, I wrote nothing down because I'm not into politics anymore, but best and worst political theater.
So best political theater, I already kind of mentioned this with Garbage Truck Man. I just think rolling up there. So my best photo op really probably should be the fight. But yeah, Garbage Truck Man rolling up there with his name on the side of this thing within 24 hours, and what? Awesome.
I just came up with my worst political theater one.
Yeah.
Okay, so before you do that, my best one would be the McDonald's Day.
Yes,
that was also memery.
Yes, absolutely.
Worst political theater was when those three catty women in Congress were insulting each other in a committee meeting.
Oh,
one called you butch-bodied blonde, and I was like, oh, this is like, who are our leaders?
Are we in middle school?
That was Marjorie Taylor Greene, Jasmine Crockett, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
I mean, they were middle school level Instagram, Snapchat sniping at each other.
That was so
they
dumb. I wrote a blog about it.
It was so dumb. I wrote a blog.
And I did a good some content on it, just saying we're just led by children. Yeah. We're led by just immature people. Yeah. By the way, we're halfway through a list of 36 things going over 2024. Next up is number 20. I do have one for the most underreported story.
I haven't got it. I have to do my most.
Did you have
number
one?
19. No, my worst political theater.
Thank you.
Megan Thee Stallion at Kamala Harris rally. Like that's just it's disgusting. Makes me want to vomit. The whole thing, like we're gonna bring rappers, like just stop.
With both a Savannah Bananas reference and a Megan Thee Stallion reference in the same 5-minute time span, I'm amazed that I haven't thrown up in the floor yet.
Sorry. He's like, where did I get myself into?
My commentary is much less political than it used to be. But can I also just say of those events, inviting whatever the lady you just said, Megan Thee Stallion and Katy Perry, we're now
Beyonce.
We're several.
She showed up too.
We're several cycles into just proving it doesn't work.
Yep.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I don't know why people keep doing it. It doesn't actually work.
I mean, the fact that Taylor Swift, who I'm actually going to have down here on my list somewhere, the fact that Taylor Swift showed up and put out actual endorsements for Kamala, and probably one of the most influential persons in the world. Taylor Swift.
And it just didn't really matter.
And it didn't really matter.
We don't care.
Move past the celebrity endorsements. It's not a thing. Most underreported story.
I have two.
All right, you take it away.
Because I've left some blank. Part one. I know I've been talking about it for 15 years, and finally everyone else is talking about it. But we're still not talking about the absolute crisis in infertility on planet Earth. Because it's not just us anymore. It's not just Europe anymore. We really only have 2 parts of the globe having enough kids to replace themselves. It's East Africa, because even West Africa is now, their infertility is dropping, in the Middle East. And I got 2 boys who are about to get married and have kids. I got to think about their world 100 years from now. And I think about my old age. We're just not having enough kids to do all the stuff that we said we were going to do. I'm going to be 70 one day and 75 and I can't work. You guys are supposed to be paying for me to be old. And we haven't made enough kids to take care of that.
I and I'm going to say this because we've got time. I was standing in line outside of Ingalls a couple of days after Hurricane Helene. You know, you've got 100 people. We're all standing out there to get in. And I'm talking to the two older ladies who are with me and talking to them about taking care of my parents who are 10 minutes down the road from me. And this one woman breaks down and starts weeping because she's an older woman and she and her husband never had any children. And I don't know if it was by choice or not, but she's like, I don't have anybody coming to check on me.
Check on, yeah.
You know, nobody's coming to my house to make sure that I'm okay. And I was, you know, and she was looking at me, trying to do what I could with my siblings to get over to take care of my parents. And, you know, and it was just that moment, like what you were saying, like really resonated. You know, I mean, I believed it for, you know,
I read
forever, but
a story this year in Forbes that said the average person in Washington, LA, New York, between the ages of 31 and 49, don't interact with a child in the average month. We're talking there's so few children in those places. They don't get on an elevator with a kid. They don't go to a restaurant where there's a kid. The kids have evaporated. Not just here.
Yeah. And then when they do see a child out at a restaurant, they get mad.
Yeah, we're
you know, they blast about it on the internet. You know?
And I think it is underreported that there actual are public policy, familial. There are real things that come out of not reproducing.
Yeah. So, where are we at?
Underreported still.
Most underreported story. Yeah, you had another one. You had two.
Yeah, the other one is simply pornography use. We don't talk about it enough. It's just everywhere. I guarantee right now, if I open Instagram and hit the little magnifying glass, of those 9 or 10 panes, at least 2 of them, if I tap them, will lead me to porn sites. And I'm a 38-year-old man who trains my algorithm not to take me there.
Right.
And it's just so available.
I know an 18-year-old boy who, when he was 15, got addicted to porn because of the GIF feature on his phone.
Yeah.
Like, he was looking for a GIF and
That's
went.
a new one.
So, and it brought up something, and then it just started him down a road. And
I don't doubt those two things are connected. Our saturation in pornography and our infertility are at least in some ways connected.
Yeah.
Underreported stories for you two?
All right, I'm going to go with the Colorado apartment takeover by illegal thugs. I don't think enough people have talked about that.
Tren de Aragua.
Yeah, and it's just
okay. I remember that.
Spoken like a true native Spanish speaker.
Yeah. Tren de Aragua. Is that what we're talking
Como
about?
estes?
Do you guys have any of that salsa with no spice in it, please?
No.
Put some black pepper in that tomato sauce. I'm super white.
Yeah.
Underreported stories for you, Cody?
Yes.
The amount of violence inherent in leftism and particularly transgender ideology. We've seen disproportionate amounts of transgender shooters. And really just look at libs of TikTok.
Yeah.
It's amazing how violent that crowd is because just of their ideology.
Yeah, it's disproportionate.
Trans terrorism. I've heard that term bandied about, and that is exactly what we see.
It is a real thing, yes.
Yeah. Most overreported story, I'll go ahead and go, Ukraine. Because despite all the news coverage, I see no actual photos of actual warfare and lives lost. What are the numbers? We hear about it every single day. We know absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I have one. I'll go.
Go ahead. Yeah.
If you had said 10 years ago, the most underreported story, I would have said the development of artificial intelligence. In 2024, I think it's the most overreported. We should have been talking about it 10 years ago. And now it's here. And we're obsessed with how it's going to change everything. And we've overplayed how it's going to overtake certain jobs, certain industries. I'm not saying don't forget about it. There's some AI stuff to forget about. I just think that's more years down the road, and so it's been overreported this year.
That's fair. Mine is the WNBA.
I do like Caitlin Clark, but otherwise, it got a lot of attention.
I'm not one in general to comment on people's appearances, but her eyes just look like there's nothing behind them, and so
Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, every photo she's in, she's
all right.
There's no thoughts behind
it. I have comment on that.
Oh no, go ahead.
Are you disagreeing with me?
No, but
okay.
I'm glad you said it out loud so that I can say that. So I can say this.
So he can say what he really wants to say. You made you the scapegoat.
There was a skit on Saturday Night Live during Weekend Update 2 weeks ago where a mom figure had her athlete son, and the athlete son had the whole skit like this. Oh, if you're listening on the audio, my eyes are blank and my mouth is open. It's agape. And he's just sitting there. And I keep seeing that with young athletes. I see it with CJ Stroud a good bit. And I think he's a believer. I see it in Bryce Young. I see it in a lot of these young guys. And I think it's something we've done in athletic culture to make you get so good that you can do this. We had to rip all of life away from you to turn you into a robot. Yep. And I think we've done that to our young athletes.
Well, I think also an impact of that is social media, technology, the phone, media, where we're just so used to being consumer, we don't know how to produce anything. And so you look at that and it's just, they don't have anything to say. They don't have anything to do. Like they're just
blank.
They're just blank because they're so used to consuming and not producing. And so, it's that, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
we've hyper specialized at a young age for everything.
Yes.
So we have guys who are, well, I'm a musical guy, I'm a theater kid, well, I'm into sports, I'm into cars. Why can't you enjoy all of those?
Yes.
Right.
That's one of the things I like about the Moscow mood up in Idaho is like their boys go play football or rugby or what, like their private school Logos, like they have a football team, they have a basketball team, and they actually do pretty well.
Yeah.
So it's, and while they're also learning Latin.
And
enjoying it.
You can do more than one thing.
Right.
And I see what you're saying. Yeah. We tend to just kind of pigeonhole kids super early on, and then that becomes their identity for the rest of their life. And
don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. People can have, and you don't have to be, you can be, it's okay to be a jack of all trades. Like you can have a lot of things that you're interested in.
Quite helpful.
Yes, it's actually. But okay, so where are we at? Biggest government waste?
Yeah, number 22. I mean,
I know. This is hard to pick.
I didn't write anything down because there's just so much waste. So
yeah,
I sign to whatever you guys say. Agree.
Yeah, I'm gonna be very specific, and I'm gonna say the 516 billion this year that went to this fiscal year that went to expired under federal law government programs. $320 billion of that went to programs that expired over a decade ago.
How does that happen?
Incompetence. Congress. I
assign that. Any others for you?
It's hard to disagree with that. I
mean, you just look at like government biggest waste. Like it is.
We just channel our inner Ron Swanson at this point.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so true. So, well, okay, but the converse of that, and this one's always really hard because what government money is actually well spent. So best government money spent. And I'm just going to lead with, say, local firefighters and first responders. My brother's one. He's graduating today from firefighters.
Very nice.
How about boot camp and all that. We're going to go to the graduation after this. So I'm going to say him. I'm going to say, the firefighters, the first responders, those folks, they probably actually deserve government money. So
yeah, also
our tax money.
I don't have anything because it's just hard to think of anything outside the local governments that are well spent. I don't know. Maybe getting those people that are trapped in the space station out of there. That's some good money spent.
That we haven't even done that yet. One time. Talk about a year that's just been like so full of things.
Two people like overstaying their welcome at the International Space Station.
Floating around.
And we can't get them out till February. So whatever money we spend to get them out, that's my best.
You talked about DEI being a loser, right? Well, that's influenced NASA.
Yeah.
NASA.
It has.
The people putting people into space.
Yeah. All right. Boldest political move. Speaking of,
I also left that blank because I don't know enough politics anymore.
Yeah, I'm going to say putting Kamala out as a Democratic nominee without a single ballot being cast in her favor, offering or I'm going to go with this one too, offering abortions outside the DNC during one of the most contentious presidential campaigns.
Yeah. I have to say this now because you called it the boldest move. It's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see how it works out for him.
Yeah. And it didn't work out well.
It did not work.
It did not.
No, it did not work.
The metaphorical shanking of Joe Biden was pretty bold as well.
It was.
Yeah. And I think it kind of goes hand in hand with here, like we're just going to move him out of the way. And I think that we're on the right side of things. We're not in the DNC. We're not in the Democrat Party. But there were a lot of Democrats who saw that go down and were like, wait a minute. What's like, we don't like him, but we're just going to, what are we doing?
My wife has a hilariously dark sense of humor, and she joked as soon as Biden got elected, how long is it going to take for Kamala Harris to sneak into the Lincoln bedroom and smother him with a pillow?
Well, I mean, I actually am stunned. that she has not been, he's not been taken down and her putting up in place, because I do sincerely believe the Democrats wanted to have the first female president. And I just expected all along that that's what they were going to do. They were going to, there is still 30, but I actually believe that there's been a lot of contention between Kamala and Biden. And that's why I don't think Biden's
losing will do that. We've both been in losing locker rooms. They're contentious.
Yeah.
And when you've lost, there's a lot of contention.
So, talking about, I think anytime you bring up Biden's, then you're going to at least a scandal. So that's our next category, which is worst political scandal. And I'll just lead it off with FEMA giving money to illegal aliens. And they're not even going to knock on the door of the houses with Trump signs in the yard.
That is a bad one. I went with Matt Gaetz because, again, I just have an allergy against men in their late 30s pursuing sex with women in their late teens. Pretty hard allergy. Pretty hard no on that.
Yeah, both. You could make a very good case for both those. You could also make a case for the Hunter Biden pardon.
Oh yeah,
a blanket pardon from 2014 with the meme of the goose saying, "What happened in 2014, Joe?"
Yeah,
that's a good one.
I know. I mean, you really just have to put up the Biden name and its political scandal, but you know that's But okay, so the best idea. What was the best idea of 2024?
I just did this on my show. I very rarely hear anything new. I've heard all the ideas, but I had a listener send me something he heard from some other show that said, go ahead and I wrote it down as making our safeguards statutes. So right now our safeguards in the system are just traditions. We have the tradition of the filibuster, but it's not in law. We have the tradition of needing of how we add states, but it's not something in the Constitution, but it's not in statute. He said, John Thune come out and just say, you have 18 months to make the filibuster, to pass this constitutional amendment, to put it in the Constitution, and some other safeguards of our system. Oh, yeah, to limit the Supreme Court to 9. And if you don't, we're going to do it in 18 months. We're going to kill the filibuster, do whatever we want. We're going to add 31 seats to the Supreme Court. So safeguard our system now, or we'll wreck it. I thought that was really creative.
Very interesting take. I'm going to say that the best idea is the Department of Government Efficiency. And I think DOGE. I think we already saw it kind of taking in effect just in the last couple of days with the CR continuing resolution that they tried to pass, like 1,500 pages. In 24 hours, Elon Musk comes out and he's like, not going to work. Yep. Donald Trump says not going to work. They come out and they say, okay, 116 pages. Unbelievable. Within 24 hours, they've got trimmed down. Now, I think they said too, they're not passing that even, but still, it just bodes well for the future with DOGE. So I'm going to say that was a good idea. I don't know if it's going to pan out, but it's a good idea.
I agree with both of those. I got nothing to add to that.
Yeah.
College football playoff, best idea of the year.
That was percolating for a while.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
I love
12-team playoff. I love it.
So on that note, a worst idea of the year, and I'm just going to pitch this one. It's totally unpolitical, but sleeping with 100 men in 24 hours.
Oh my gosh, I hate that.
In the goal of reaching 1,000 men for some Guinness record.
Lord, save that girl.
That is tragic.
Yeah.
That is tragic.
I feel like the stuff I would have already said is negatives or my worst ideas, like giving your kids smartphones from Jonathan Haidt. These are the worst ideas.
Yeah, very true.
So in the sports world, all of these baseball rule changes, I understand the pace of play has been terrible the last several years. And there's multiple reasons for that, but instead of organically getting it to the point of, hey, get the ball and throw it.
Yes.
Right. We had to say, all right, we have to do these things in order to get the attention of younger people, of kids, and they really just kind of learned that from the seeker-sensitive movement.
Yes.
we have to go get their attention as opposed to passing the thing down.
Yeah.
And saying, here is the thing. Here's how you love the thing.
Take care of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So stop monkeying with stuff that doesn't need to be monkeyed with.
That's good. I like that one.
All right. It's kind of on that note. Sorry to see you go. It could be like a literal person.
I got one.
Or something.
Steve Lawson. That hurt me deep.
Yeah, I know.
I wasn't a huge Lawson fan, but
the impact on the church.
If someone, like Mike Bickle had his great fall this year, and I was not sorry to see him go because he preaches heresy.
Yes.
But when Lawson, who's been so solid for so many years, and it turns out behind the scenes he absolutely wasn't.
Yeah.
That it's a reality check.
It was hard. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard.
I have mine. Sorry to see you go. Was living in a high trust society. I love institutionalism, and that we generally trusted each other when I was growing up.
Yep.
That a knock on the door wasn't a crisis to check your camera. It was just just open the door. we're fine. I loved growing up in a time where everywhere you go, I'm just going to trust the people in charge because they got to be in charge by probably being excellent. And I've just noticed that last couple of years, it's gone.
You don't trust your doctor. You don't trust your dentist.
We don't trust anybody. Yeah. We don't trust big business, medicine, or even our sports agencies. We don't trust each other.
And a lot of it warranted, which is what's doubly disappointing.
I actually just got a second opinion on needing dental work. And he told me, you don't need any of this.
Yeah.
So, thanks.
I think that's what's hard is I hold on to institutionalism because I think we need institutions.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
The people who so quickly want to burn them down, I do want to say to you, like, I get why. The institutions haven't behaved great. I get it. I don't like the idea of going off into a world without them, though. I'd rather reform them than tear them down.
Yeah, it's just a cliche, like, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, they're maybe not doing the right thing, but it doesn't mean we should throw the whole thing out. It means we should reform it. Right. We should make a change. We should do things differently.
Unless the baby drowned.
Yeah. Valid.
Wow.
Yes. So I'm gonna dabble in the sports world here, and I'm gonna say, sorry to see you go. The golden years of the NBA. It is.
Oh man.
They do nothing but run down and shoot from the three, and then run back and shoot from the three, and then run back.
The
and
NBA
shoot.
is completely unwatchable.
It's so
the
boring.
Steph Curry effect.
Yeah, it is so boring.
Curry,
I want to see some actual ball handling. I want to see some actual rebounding. I want to see some dunking. Like, what are we doing? Like, we're just. So anyway, that's gonna be mine.
And contrasting that with March Madness every year, where that's so much fun to watch because it is actual basketball being played.
Yes. So who needs their 15 minutes of fame to expire?
It already did mostly, but
I knew you were gonna say
Matt Gaetz again.
No, this got on my nerves so daggum much that we decided Haley Welch, Hawk Tua girl, was going to get the nation's attention for a month.
I was really hoping somebody's going to say her because I didn't want to say her.
I don't get furious about much. I was furious. So we're going to take a drunk girl on Nashville's Broadway who just said something vulgar and make her famous?
Yeah, well, didn't she? And she's now, like, scammed a bunch of people, too, right?
She started her own little cryptocurrency and got a bunch of people to put in money and then dropped it. Yeah, she might go to jail. Yeah, her 15 minutes is up. It should have never existed. That was my plan. I had to put her somewhere on this list.
But I wanted to say something else, so I was really hoping somebody was going to mention her. Do you have anybody?
I'm going to break Cory's heart and say Taylor Swift's fame needs to expire.
I get it. I mean, good luck. I mean, she is the most famous person in the world.
In the world. I understand that. I just wish she would not be.
A 2-year $1 billion.
I tossed that one around too.
2 years, $1 billion tour. She'll do it again in 3 or 4 years, and it'll be a 2-year.
And it'll be more. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be more.
And don't get me wrong. I respect the production value. Yeah. I respect the fact that her marketing team is so good. My wife and I just had a huge conversation about this the other day of her fans really think that she gives a rip about them. And she totally doesn't. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, I'm gonna say. Oh man, I could say some things about that, but I'm gonna hold it all in. I'm not a huge Taylor Swift fan, so but I'm gonna say that who needs their 15 minutes of fame to expire would be the body positivity movement that's promoted terribly unhealthy lifestyles.
Yes,
that's what I would do.
I think it is. Things are turning on that.
Yeah, I mean, you got Mahawk coming along, and so I think that's gonna. People are, it's just that conversation is rising to the top now, and it's just been pressed down by the body positivity movement, and it's rising.
Me and my wife talked recently about one of the pageants where a very traditionally beautiful woman finally won for the first time in a long time. Victoria's Secret.
Was that Norway?
I think that's right.
Yeah, something like that.
This happened in America.
Okay.
One of those pageants, and then Victoria's Secret took out all the overweight models that went back to the normal models, which I still gentlemen, avert your eyes.
It's still not a good idea.
Right. That body positivity thing I think is diminishing.
Yeah, I agree. I think so. I think it's on the way out. So best spin. Who had the best spin of 2024?
I left it blank, but I was very interested in your answers.
So I'm going to say this burned me up this year. This was on the tail end of the same day, Donald Trump, the attempted assassination, and multiple pastors that I know. So I'm going to say any pastor who claims he can't comment on political events because he needs to stay in his lane. Like that, if you can't comment on somebody's attempted assassination because you're a pastor, like that really burned me up. I was like, this is attempted murder.
With being that Christ is Lord over all of those spheres.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, look, yes, Christ is Lord over politics. Politics impact people. Our Christianity should influence these things. And you should be teaching your people how to think politically because you're teaching them how to think biblically. And if you don't, we have a lot of biblically ignorant voters.
Yeah, and I would say someone along the lines of Eric Metaxas, we have ranted about this. Eric Metaxas just does such a poor job thinking through things, particularly in light of the election, when Matt Gaetz was being scrutinized and whatever, he was like, no, we voted for Donald Trump. That means we want everything that he wants. It's like, you are literally not thinking at this point. Like, I'm pretty sure he only has 2 neurons and they don't talk to each other.
They don't talk to each other. Okay, so most honest. Yeah, that's what we're at. Everybody got the answer for that.
Me.
Yeah.
I'm just
As a podcaster, I'd like to say.
I also left that one blank. But I really, when I saw it on the paper, I just went, just people I'm close to. I think I live in a very honest. I love my group.
Yeah,
we're truthful people.
Yeah, I wanted to say my mom, but I was like, because my mom is a compulsive truth teller. I don't know if either one of you really met my mom, but like compulsive truth teller. But I'll say something that's more political, and that would be Stephen A. Smith, who, I don't know if you guys saw this clip, but while he was reporting about the FBI informants being at the J6 thing and being involved in J6, he said, I'm just really sick and tired that every time I turn around, I'm finding something else that the Democrats have lied about. And he kind of goes on and on and on. He says, every time you claim the other side is duplicitous, corrupt, has a moral monopoly on evil, insidious tendencies, corrupt tendencies, hypocritical, untruthful tendencies, every time Democrats made those accusations, we turn around and find out the Democrats are guilty of those things. Incredibly honest moment by Stephen A. Smith.
In that vein, I would put Bill Maher here. I think he's wrong about a lot. But there might not be just a more frank person.
Right.
I think he's honestly wrong, but he's honest. I listen to a lot of Bill Maher. Once a week, he has his Friday night show on HBO. So I put him in that category.
I think maybe this isn't exactly the right category, but in dealing with the literal Nazis and Jew haters on X, guys like James White, Doug Wilson, Jeff Durbin, Joe Boot pushing back so hard against them.
I appreciated that.
Knowing that they're going to get unsubscribes.
Yeah.
And even to the point where Canon Press for No Quarter November sold a t-shirt that just said unsubscribe. If you don't like it, deal with it. Just
I did appreciate those men for that.
Yeah. I think this is a hard category because it's hard to really know. You can't say blanket statement, this is the most honest person I know if you don't know them personally. Right. So that's why you're just like the people in my circle. Yeah. So that's why I'm like, okay, this specific instance was an incredibly honest moment for this person. Right. Yep. So you kind of have to be specific like that. I get it. Most overrated. I'm going to say most overrated. Well, somebody else wants to go first.
I have nothing.
Tariffs.
Yeah.
I am not. Yep. I'm willing to be convinced, but from where I sit now and where I've always stood, tariffs. And boy, oh howdy.
Tariffs or taxes. And I'm pretty not a big fan of taxes.
Yeah, me neither. As someone who imports things.
Yeah.
I'm not.
My distributor in Germany, right? I mean, that's part of it.
And not a lot of people know this, but basically every electronic component comes from China.
Right.
Period. So.
Yeah, I mean, I recognize that we've got to do something. I'm not convinced that tariffs are the answer. So,
The free market typically is.
Yes. So,
This is not 2024, but it just now hit me. Maybe the most overrated thing is I overestimated how much I was going to enjoy the death of cable in our lives and have all these streaming services.
Oh, yeah.
It has not worked out for me.
I almost put streaming services down as being the most
everyone
overrated.
has one.
Yes, and you've got
now
streaming.
More expensive.
And I am opposed to not actually owning things because you don't actually own that. Like if you want that book on Audible, like you don't own it. They can change it. You can't. You don't have it.
But man, the convenience of not having to carry around a CD wallet.
Yes.
What about in your car where you're just like...
It's like Spotify's just so much better. And it even sounds better. And it doesn't get a scratch and start to skip on that one particular song.
Yeah. No, I get it. I feel you. Yeah.
For most underrated, that's our next category.
Yep.
I put books. physical, actual books. Because I've come to this conclusion, and I know it sounds hypocritical, but I've been doing this a minute, right? I've been talking into microphones for 16 years, and I've had a show for 10. I'm getting to the point where every living organism has a podcast.
Wait, what are you about to say, Cory?
There are amoebas that will be created, or will create an amoeba that will emerge and have an amoeba podcast, because everyone has one now.
Yeah.
And it ends up making us feel like we're listening to insightful things when we're often not. You know, how about go read a book? Books are great.
One of the interesting things since I host my podcast on Spotify, the creators for whatever, it said that the Westminster Effects Doxology Podcast, which is not a large podcast, was somewhere in the top 80% or something like that, 80, 85. And so the good thing is that means there are a lot of podcasts that aren't getting any listens. Literally zero people care about them.
Yeah, same thing with YouTube channels. There are guys I'll come across because Twitter decided I need to know about them, and they say something ridiculous, and I go look at the YouTube, and this video has 3 views on it. Yeah. 3. Yeah. No one's listening to you. Yep. You're just yelling into a microphone. Yep. And so reading a book is much more beneficial to you than all of this media out there.
My answer is different, a little more specific, but to piggyback on that, I literally just had a conversation with my husband yesterday about the importance of our children not seeing us walking around with our face on a screen all the time. And if you need something to do, put your phone down. And this was not pertaining to like us, but you know, we were just talking about it. But you sit down, pick up a book, and it's more important. They need to see you sitting down and reading a physical book. You know, it does do something and change their mindset and regarding technology and all that. So making an effort to do that. But I'm going to go ahead.
Yeah. To that end, reading good fiction.
Yes.
We have in the Reformed world, our Gnostic tendency is to believe that we need all of the information and that changes lives. Yeah. But what we also need is good stories, because that's what God is up to. He's telling a good story.
It's good, man.
So I'm currently reading That Hideous Strength, and which the first 80 pages of that, it's just like a board meeting. Like, Lewis, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's I don't remember who said it, but it's whoever tells the best story wins the culture.
Yes.
And we have the best story.
Yeah. We just don't tell it well.
Christian fiction should be something that's our pastors need to be well read on Christian fiction.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a whole tangent. I'm going to say the most underrated is consistent Bible reading every day.
Amen. Yeah.
I think not enough Christians are out there reading their Bible.
Would you say that is your big New Year's resolution?
Oh, transitions.
Yeah. Transitions. Actually, yeah, it's every year. My big New Year's resolution is the same: read my Bible every day and finish it in a year. And I think you can't have a bigger resolution than that, really. So if you have something different, that one's just kind of foregone conclusion.
I don't do New Year's resolutions. I just, I in the past have decided in a given year, I'm going to stop eating or drinking this. So like 2010, I don't drink sugar sodas, and I haven't now in 14 years. I think it was 2011, I said I don't drink sweet tea, and I haven't drank sweet tea in whatever that is, 13 years. I had a year I said I'm not going to eat fries anymore. I just haven't eaten fries since then. Had a year I said I'm not going to eat donuts anymore. I don't need donuts anymore. I just eliminate something that's not great. So I'll figure something out. I'll figure something else I don't want to eat or drink, and I'll eliminate it.
So mine last year was I wanted to be more intentional about listening. It kind of goes back to the Christian fiction, but listening to more music in general.
Good.
A lot of times when I'm soldering circuit boards and it's mindless, I'll have podcasts going to keep my mind occupied, but not having dead silence when I need my mind going, but having music going, stuff like that. And so to that end, I would like to be more intentional about being a business owner, small group leader, deacon, whatever. I got responsibilities.
Yeah.
And play more guitar. But then in terms of biblical study, I want to understand the ramifications of Deuteronomy better.
I love it.
There's some weird stuff in Deuteronomy that we don't think about very often.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome.
Yeah.
Very nice. So our last 2 categories: capitalist of the year.
Me.
Yeah.
Go buy stuff for your guitar at WestminsterEffects.com.
Yes. I have just went Javier Milei.
Yeah,
Abuela.
Yeah, I wanted to say him, but I'm going to say somebody who wouldn't call herself a capitalist, but did a lot for capitalism, and that is Taylor Swift and her Eras Tour, which grossed over $2 billion in ticket sales alone, making it the highest grossing tour in history.
Also just gave all of her stagehands and musicians various six-figure bonuses.
Yes, every city that she was in, she did a lot of charity work in. She gave a lot of money to food banks, and there was like 11 different ones in one country that she funded them for the entire year.
And she still needs to go away.
I know. But my argument is that she we don't need the government. We just need Taylor Swift and Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and and the Doge and we just need people to do what they do if the government got out of the way. So anyway, did you have a capitalist of the year? Well, you said yourself.
You.
So
yeah. You want my person of the year?
Person of the year.
Okay.
You?
It's not me.
Cory Truax.
Time told me 2006 that I was person of the year. You remember that?
Oh yeah, you. That was like
Time magazine put a little piece of tinfoil on the front for person of the year, and whoever was holding it.
That's right.
Give me a full 2 minutes to build this out, because I thought about this. Is the only one I actually put a lot of thought in. I think the person of the year, the most who embodies where we are in our moment, is Elon Musk for this reason. In 2008, he was an Obama guy. He's a big environmentalist. He was floating culturally where everything was. Musk has floated over to us just as a life experience. It's not core beliefs. He's just floated into the right because the culture is kind of floated back as a backlash to what the left was doing, but there's nothing rooting him. Mm-hmm. And that's where I fear we are culturally. We decided wokeness was making us mad and uncomfortable, and so we reacted against it, but we're not rooted in anything.
Yep.
And he'll float right back. Yep. Because he's not rooted in anything. So I think he is most indicative of our moment. Reactionary with no roots.
I actually said Elon Musk too, for very similar reasons. I think he really embodies where we're at as a culture. He's mostly a degenerate,
yes.
Has some things that I'm like, yeah, we're in alignment on with our values, but it's not convictions.
Yes.
And so, you have to give credit where credit's due. If Elon Musk hadn't have bought Twitter last year, we wouldn't have Donald Trump as president this year. And so I firmly believe that anyway.
He's had a very positive effect.
His whole reason for that was because of his son.
Yeah.
And what happened to his son because of the progressive agenda and being, transed and his son was transitioned. And so, yes, you're right. He's just reactionary. And I always say we're ditch divers. We go from one extreme to the other. Yes. It was totally uncool to be, to be conservative. So everybody was a liberal. Mm-hmm. Now we're, the other way. And it's just we're super right. And
we'll do it again.
Yes. And
we'll swing back without roots.
Which is why I said earlier, it's cool. I don't like that it's cool to be conservative again because I want it to be your conviction.
Yeah. Indifference for Cody?
So this is extreme personal bias and life experience, but just all the stuff that I see my dudes in Skillet doing.
Nice.
Like getting to know, especially Seth and working with him on the 2716 pedal, but also hanging out with John a little bit at shows. And I think Kristen and I went to 3 or 4 Skillet shows this
year.
One in London. And one in London, yes, which was an adventure in and of itself. But seeing how they run their operation, all of their crew is so professional and so welcoming. And then particularly John as their frontman mouthpiece he's just stayed steady.
Yeah.
And he hasn't backed off of conservative Orthodox Christianity, including my understanding is he specifically said, because he doesn't do a gospel presentation at their shows. They're there to play a rock show, but he will say something about Jesus before they play their song Hero. And when they played in Doha, he specifically said something about Jesus of Nazareth.
Nice.
Which apparently got a fairly weird response.
I bet. Yeah.
They were like, should we clap right now? I don't know about that. But just the fact that they've stayed so steady, so solid. I got a lot of respect for that.
I'm surprised your person of the year was not Newfoundland puppies. Because you have a new one, don't you not?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, he has been a handful. We went from a 2-dog household last year with a Newfoundland and an old Pomeranian. The Pomeranian died, and of course he ran the show.
That's right.
And now the puppy runs the show because the other Newfoundland is a beta, but this guy is 9 months old and 90 pounds.
Fun times. Fun times in the Fields house.
The other one is 10 years old and 115 pounds. So the puppy's probably going to hit 140. And sometimes he tries to sit in our laps. And
can I give a closing thought on this?
By all means.
Sure.
I just think we should tell people where to find us. And do our commercials.
Yes.
Okay,
So,
absolutely.
like, I don't mean actual ads. I just mean if you're with Hannah and Cody and you think, hey, I would like to hear that Cory guy some more, you can find me wherever you find podcasts. It's Cory Truax Show, or on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Threads, where I don't do much. But I'm out there on the social media that I want to do less of.
Yeah, I'm Hannah Miller. I'm with the Hannah Miller Show, and you can find me wherever you do podcasts. I don't really post on. I've got an Instagram, I think, somewhere, but I have not posted on there for a couple of years. Sorry about that, but yeah, I'm not a big social media person.
Cody Fields.
Yeah, Cody Fields or Westminster Effects. You can find both of those on your social media platform of choice. Find me on YouTube with Westminster Effects. I'm also on X at. It's X because we don't dead name around here, right? At Cody Fields 864.
Yep. So,
All right.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Yes, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Thanks for doing it, guys.
Yep.